I wanted to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
Of course, I appreciate you asking.
You created an amazing album from top to bottom. I wanted to ask you, how long did it take to put the material together?
That is a good question. I go through spurts of writing, so I think like half of the album I wrote in like a month, but the other half was kind of random song here or there every like month or two. So I don't know, maybe like 6 months in total.
And I wanted to ask you if you could take time and tell my fans about the story behind Home.
Yes. So it's called Home because it deals with where I'm from, what my home is, and a lot of it is about exploring what that is in terms of like the emotional connection of how you define home and also the physical realm of the beneath, which is what I've called my home. And kind of helping people understand that home is what the end is basically you defining as home, whatever that is to you. And even if you may not be able to physically go to what was once your home, you can always have a new one and decide what that is. It's not something outside of your realm.
Absolutely. And I wanted to ask you if you could speak on one of my favorite tracks, which is The Beneath.
Oh yeah, what we want me to tell like the
I,
backstory or
if you could tell the backstory and how the intertwined melodies came to you.
oh yeah. So since that is the track that is my home's actual title, The Beneath, a lot
Mm,
of it deals with just kind of describing what that looks like, and I would highly suggest reading the lyrics for that reason because there's a lot of descriptors and just
sure.
the way things are interwoven that fit the theme of the album. But it's mostly physical descriptors. It's not too introspective. It's not like the title track is much more introspective. And then the melody itself, honestly, a lot of what I write is just what feels good to me, what
Mm.
feels right. And what goes with that lyrically is also sort of an internal feeling that will lead me. So I'll write the instruments first and I'll write something that speaks to me and makes sense. And then I will use that as okay, what kind of theme fits the feeling of this song? And so I didn't write it with the intention of, oh, this is going to be the beneath. It's like I wrote it and I was like, okay, this feels like a song that would be my home's title, which is the beneath.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it definitely rings true and fits well with the rest of the material. I also in the material is what amazes me is your musical structure and all the elements that are provided throughout. It's absolutely amazing. It's the freshest material I've heard in a long time. I wanted to
Thank you.
ask you, how was that born?
Uh, like one thing I think that's important is um, coming from the EP into this album and in between any release for me, I treat that process in between as like exploration. So a lot of the songs I write from one release to the next are kind of just throwaway. And it's me figuring out, okay, what is going to make this next release stand out over the previous? What is going to be the same? What kind of keeps it the style of the project? But then what also evolves and changes and challenges me as a writer,
Mhm.
but also fits the direction I want to go thematically. I always like to have elements that are specific to an album that really, really capture the feeling and the theme of that particular release. So, Flesh Throne was the first song I wrote for the album. That was the first song I was like, okay, this feels like the next wave. This feels like the true growth and maturation of the project that led
Mhm.
me to everything else. And then once that happens, I just keep challenging myself as a writer, finding what I do a lot of and flipping it. Like if I do the same structure all the time, how can I change that? You know, recognize my own patterns and break them because it's more fun both as the person writing it and playing it and listening to it, not
Sure.
having the same thing on a loop repeating with just different riffs.
And speaking on that, I wanted to ask you if you could take me back in time and tell me how your musical journey started.
Yeah. I started learning guitar, I want to say, about 20 years ago now. And it was just a casual endeavor, just learning another instrument. I wanted to play some music I enjoyed, and it was like that was about it. But about a year into it, I started writing my own stuff. I got Guitar Pro, and it just kind of changed into this whole like, writing random stuff and seeing what came of it. And I never took it too seriously. I think through the years, I've more realized the impact and the importance of music for me. But it was always kind of just like oh, this is fun. It's fun to listen to other bands and try to be like, okay, like how can I create something like this, but in my own way?
Sure.
It was very challenging to define metal as a sound when you're first starting out. It was a lot of trial and error for me. Um, but it's been a lot of just failed projects and then ones that do well and then failed projects again. And it's made me kind of have to look inside and ask, like, okay, why am I doing this? And I think now more than ever, I feel really, really in tune with what I write and what I create to the point that even if no one was listening to it, I would still do it. Like it's purely for my own expression and the enjoyment of the process of writing and growing as an artist.
And I wanted to ask you as well, how did the image and the band name come to you?
So in a way, I mean, the image is a little like this is me, this is my identity, and that's like
Mhm.
that was before the band, and that's kind of what made the band come into existence was I found myself about 6 years ago now, and I it took a few years before I started to be more public about it. And then I went to therapy, and therapy kind of taught me, like, okay, I need more outlets for my identity. And then that was how Vessellus was made. And the name itself is a play on vessel and sounding a bit more kind of a Latin spin.
Mhm.
Like it's not an actual like Latin word, but it's meant to kind of sound like it could be a Latin
Sure.
word. But yeah, I mean, it felt right to just take my identity and turn it into a project, and it's given me that outlet to explore things I would not explore otherwise.
And getting into art and identity, I wanted to ask you if you could speak on the album artwork is absolutely phenomenal and perfect for the story of the album.
Yeah. Erskine Designs did it. He does a lot of album covers, and they're just all absolutely gorgeous. And I basically came to him with some concepts of layout, kind of what it was a lot of self exploration on what my home looked like, and I gave that to him and basically said, do whatever you want with this, and just take it and make it evolve into a more full thing. And that was kind of where I left it. I try to give as much creative freedom as I can to the artist because I kind of have a vague idea, but they're the ones with the years of experience and they know what they're
Sure.
capable of and they know things that I don't know. So, as usual, he absolutely did an amazing job and it's beyond my expectations.
And now the album's out and it's well received. I wanted to ask you, what's the next step for you?
Um, there's a couple things. The first thing I do after an album comes out is I start thinking about, okay, what's the next album? Because I love writing. I love the whole process from concept to, release. I love every step of it. So I don't like to just sit and wait. But in parallel, I also want to, give this album the life it deserves. So
Sure.
playing shows, trying to do like a tour, try to get on some festivals maybe, like really push the album out there and let it breathe and give the audience it deserves. So I don't like to do just one or the other. I like to do both. So that way we are working towards the next thing in parallel. And then when that album kind of, we feel like we've really used it enough, we can start, okay, here's the next album right after it.
And speaking on that, I wanted to ask you, when someone sees you live, what can they expect?
Um, I would say for us, our live performance is a lot more like kind of like a ceremony ritual, that kind of vibe. Like it's not,
Mhm.
we're not up there jumping around or anything. This is a very like atmosphere kind of band. It's
Mhm.
very much about the feeling that you get when you're in the room. And so that's why for our live performance, I do a lot more hand gestures and kind of slow, dramatic motions. And I've also programmed all the lights to all the songs because I'm big on lights matching the music that you're watching. It's something that every time I go to a show and the lights are like perfectly programmed, it adds another layer of like you're really
Absolutely.
here, you're in the experience of the music, and it's like I can't get that at home listening to it in my car. Like that's just not the same thing. So yeah, it's a lot of dramatic lighting and just really dramatic movements and immersing the audience in what we're doing.
And I wanted to ask you as well, we spoke about your journey. What do you feel has been the best advice that's been given to you along the way?
Um, I think one thing that I gathered from therapy that I now live by is be afraid and do it anyway. Um, for a lot of my early identity, I struggled with going out in public like this because I was
Mhm.
just afraid of backlash and people making comments and being
Sure.
negative. And it held me back to the point that it wasn't me anymore. It wasn't my own anxiety. It wasn't my own fear. It was more so like I'm afraid of everyone else and what they're gonna do. So I eventually overcame that. It's something that, and I always tell people this, it's never easy the first time, the second time, the third time, ever. I still get anxiety doing it. But
Mhm.
I've gotten to the point where I've trained myself enough to be like, okay, this is just a natural response and it's going to be fine. Like, you can't let that cripple you from doing what you want to do and what you enjoy doing. But yeah, that's something that I will live by that for as long as I can. I never want to be held back by my own fears of things that just don't really matter in the end.
Absolutely. You know, throughout my life, I went through the same type things where, I felt like I wasn't in place with everything, but I was always cool with it because the way I always seen it is we're all in the land of misfit toys and we're all just if you don't represent yourself, then you're just one of the mass, and that's something I never wanted to be.
Yes. Yeah, you nailed it. That's exactly it. Yes.
I wanted to ask you, now the album's out, what's the best way to get a hold of it and any merchandise that you have?
Yeah, we have a Bandcamp under, just search up the Celis. We have it on vinyl, which is the first time I personally have ever released anything I've ever done on vinyl. It's a huge dream come true, beautiful purple vinyl, as well as a digipack, which for those who do not have vinyl players, I always invest in a nice CD, and that has a 12-page booklet as well. That is
Right.
really nice for anyone who's like, I can't get vinyl, but I still want to support you for the physical media. And of course, there's digital, as well as we have album shirt and sweatshirt as well. And if you are just a streaming person, we have it on all streaming platforms, wherever wherever you listen to music.
Well, I wanted to deliver you the message that you created one of the best albums I have heard in a very long time. It's it touches not only your heart inside, but musically is so fulfilling. It's great to see someone going outside the box and doing something innovative. So lastly, I want to give the message you to give a message. If you could give a message to your fans, what message would you give them?
Oh gosh, I appreciate every single one, or every any person who has ever taken the time out of their life to listen to our stuff. There's so much music out there these days, and to have anyone do that just means a lot because this project is everything to me. It is literally the most personal thing I've ever created. So every person I've ever met in person, every person who's ever messaged me, bought anything, listened to our music, I just have nothing but the most grandiose gratitude for your time and your money and your soul and a piece of everything that you've given to this. I always assume that no one's going to care about what I release, and I'm always surprised that there are people out there that for some reason do, and it means so much. So thank you for everything.
Well, thank you for taking time to speak with me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I look forward to what lies ahead, and please keep in touch with me and let me know what lies ahead so I can get it out to my fan base.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you so much for reaching out. You are such you're wonderful to talk to. A very, very nice individual, and I appreciate your time that you've given to this interview.
Absolutely. It's been a total pleasure, my friend. You take care.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.